Well, let's start here. The Giants have not issued a statement at any point since it occurred because they're still in the fact-finding mode. They were basically kept out of the loop of what's going on there. So, they tried to go down there. They got denied in Florida. And this is yesterday is really when I started to realize that something was about to go down, because the Giants sent their people down there. Teammates and friends were reaching out to JPP, and nobody had heard from them. They had closed doors on everybody. It was just the inner circle that was basically clued in on what the heck was going on since day one of this thing. July 4th, the accident of the fireworks, of course. I think everybody's well aware of that by now. So since then, they were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, and the Giants were left out. So they don't really know to this point even where everything stands. They're hearing when I reached out and found, when I first saw the report by Schefter last night, I checked with someone in the Giants, and they said that's the first they heard of it. So they didn't even know about the amputation until it was reported.
Is this accurate then, that this was JPP's decision, that he, in fact, was the guy that said, you know what, take it off? Well,
here was the choice. Ready? It's not like, I want to go play football, I'm going to take it off. The choice was he could have it deformed. They waited through this. There's usually like a 48-hour window where you wait to see kind of like how the healing's going and where this is headed. And, they went through that period. They saw where the finger was. His choice was, hey, you could basically have a deformed and likely non-fully functional, pretty much, it was going to be fully non-functional finger that, who knows, they didn't know how long it was going to take to heal. It would, wouldn't be fully functional pretty much no matter what. It wasn't going to get to that point again where it was going to be back to normal at any point. I don't think that was a realistic possibility. Or they could amputate it. His time away would be significantly less, and he would pretty much be able to go about his life without any restrictions. So, at that point, they decided, hey, the best decision here is to amputate it. And it was JPP's decision, and him and his close inner circle, his family, and they made that decision completely independent of the Giants. They turned down their offer for any medical help of, finding doctors or surgeons or et cetera.
So where does this leave him as a member of the New York Giants? Does it sour it? Does it diminish his ability to, come back? I mean, what is his future now because he made this decision without them?
Yeah, I mean, look, JPP's always been a little bit out there. That's the kind of character he is. So the Giants knew this coming in. But now they don't really know where he is physically. And until they do, they can't make that decision of what they want to do with him. Now, long-term for a contract extension, they already had their reservations. That's why they really never really got into serious negotiations for an extension, because they weren't sure they were never fully confident that they can give him that money, give him all that guaranteed money, and fully trust, him to make the right decisions. And this probably only further muddies that at this point. So, his future with the Giants is they need him this year, but, when can he come back? It seems like the timeline is pretty fast. I mean, the timeline that's being put out there is, hey, 6 weeks for the fractures to heal. That takes longer than the amputation. So, that'll take you to mid-August or whatever, end of training camp. Season starts, 3 or so weeks after that. Maybe he can ramp back up and be ready in best-case scenario for week one. It seems unlikely, though. He's, suffered serious hand trauma. That's going to be it's not going to be an easy grind back. It's not going to be that simple and easy. So, but if early in the season he could come back and he could be, 70, 80% of what he was before, the Giants are in desperate need of pass rush and of a player of JPP's caliber and ilk, because you look at the roster, there's not another player on that roster that has ever had 7 sacks in a single season. So, without JPP, that defense was very different.
No doubt about it, but and I guess, what kind of effect will losing a digit have on his play? I mean, is that something that people look at and say it shouldn't be a big deal? I don't know how much. Obviously, the team hasn't really commented on this, or have anybody in the past played without their index finger at that position. But, you wonder is he going to have to sign some kind of show me, prove it type of deal?
Yeah, I mean, fully fair question. The thing is that the Giants either have two options right now. They can either rescind their, franchise tender offer, which is 1 year, $14.8 million, which would make him an unrestricted free agent and open to everybody, or they could keep that offer on the table and see what they get this season. So, if they pull that offer, the likelihood that he's going to come back and come to the Giants may not be that high. I mean, they're in with everybody else at that point. So, the Giants are stuck between a rock and a hard place, it seems, of they need JPP, but do they have the JPP that they were hoping to have? I don't think anyone knows that. Right
and
now.
I know, Jordan,
it's impossible. Like I never tried to do anything without without an index finger with four fingers on my hand. So not like a lot of people know about it.
Right. It's almost second nature to many of us out there. Jordan Raanan, NJ.com. JPP obviously, according to reports, has to get got his index finger amputated, and that was for him to be able to play this year. So I know it sounds like, the Giants, they're in a financial situation where they kind of got to get this off the table. They didn't have to pay him the money, but you just said they kind of need him. So behind closed doors, you would have to think the Giants are you don't want to be insensitive to the guy that just lost his fingers, but do you think like they're kind of like, wow, we don't have to pay this guy a lot of money now?
Yeah, the Giants are a very loyal organization.
Right.
I don't think look, they'll make a business decision in the end, but they're not going to do it in a way that just throws them to the curb. The Giants will try and make right in the situation as much as possible, which who knows what that means, because JPP lost himself a lot of money with this. Not that that's his number one priority at this point, because I'm sure he's just happy to have, a hand and be able to hold his kid, whenever he heals. He has an infant son and, a fiance. So, but the losing the money isn't the utmost priority. But, the Giants aren't just going to say, we'll offer you 1 year, $1 million. That's it, to play this year, and be callous about it. So if there's an organization that might, treat him as fairly as possible in a situation like this, you would think it would be the Giants.
Jordan, do you anticipate the Giants, or do people anticipate the Giants making a statement on this shortly?
I would assume once they gather the information that they want, that they will release some sort of statement. You got to figure at some point, first of all, they got to make a decision of whether they want him at 1 year and $14.8 million. So, it's going to come. It's just a matter of when at this point. I'm not quite sure when that is.
Are the Giants or the JPP people, I guess we haven't heard much from the Giants, or I don't know that anybody has known this, but do you anticipate there being some backlash for the medical records being tweeted out?
Well, the hospital, I just posted this probably like 2 minutes ago. The hospital has already launched an official investigation. They called it an aggressive investigation. It's the Jackson Health Services in Florida. The hospital was Jackson Memorial. So they've already just launched an aggressive investigation into the release of the medical files of the potential that an employee down there did do it. So, I would assume if they did that, they already talked to JPP's people to see if, one of them were the ones that dished it over to Adam Schefter. And the fact that they're launching an aggressive investigation at this point makes you think that, hey, somebody in that hospital did illegally distribute those medical records or files, and they're going to try to find it. So, yeah, there definitely will be repercussions of those records being released, it appears.
Okay, Jordan Raanan, NJ.com, has a lot more on this obviously bizarre story and sad story. I hope that in the future these guys are a little bit smarter about their off-season activities. I mean, this is two guys in the same week that had this situation happen with fireworks. Obviously, we hope Jason's okay and can play and get back to a normal life after this. But really bizarre story. Jordan, good stuff, man.
Hey, thanks. Anytime, guys. Yeah, like you said, the biggest part is that, in the big picture is that, these guys are healthy and they're able to live,
absolutely,
productive lives and do what they, what they need to do in regards to health-wise. So it really is crazy to have this kind of stuff at this time of the year.
Yeah, and as you said, Jordan, and the fact that you mentioned kind of opens your eyes that you just had an infant and he's laying in bed and possibly decide to, or had to decide to get his finger cut off because he was fooling around with fireworks. So obviously that's a bigger part of the story than whether or not Jason Pierre-Paul is going to play for the Giants this year. But great work, man.
Thanks, man. I'll speak to you soon.